So starting with our Excel file. So I know a lot of you aren't familiar with Excel, and that's okay. Some of you that are, this hopefully will be quick for you. If you're not, you don't have to learn Excel. It just can be very, very helpful. So I'm just gonna label all my standard stuff and put it in here to help me figure it out. So our loan amount, again, we're in example 4 from chapter 5, section 1. So our loan amount was $105,000. Our R was 0.057%, and then we're doing that monthly, so that means we're doing it 12 times a year. So what we can do is, instead of trying to figure out I every time, is we can just calculate it by itself. So whenever we put in a formula, we have to use equals. So we're going to take our R, and then we're going to divide it by the number of compoundings per year. So that's our I. And then to get our N, that's going to be the number of years, which we said was 25 for this problem, times 12. So we get 300. Okay, so this is all the information we need to calculate R. So what's nice about this is we can double check our R. So I'm just going to use our formula that we used before. So we do A sub n times, and then we have that big fraction, so times I, and then we divide that by 1 minus. Now instead of doing something to a power, Excel has a separate formula for that, and that's power. So we do 1 plus our I, and then comma to what power. So in this case we're doing negative 300, so to make it negative we have to multiply it by -1. So we do -1 times, and then our value, and then we just make sure that all of our parentheses are shut or Excel gets mad, and we get 657.39 and change, which is what we got before. Now remember, we rounded that up to 657.40. So I'm going to round that up over here, and that's the payment that we're going to use. Okay, so I just set up my table. Remember, we have the payment number, the regular payment, the interest, the principal, and the balance were our 5 columns here. And I just entered them all so they're ready to go. So we are started with payment 77 because that was our December 10th, 2003. And we found our balance to be around $90,000. So we're just going to enter that in just so I can show you what that would look like so that you can replicate it if you want to. Again, not required. I just think it's helpful to do it on Excel. So I'm going to take the loan and I'm going to multiply that, but again we're taking something to a power, so we use the power function, and then we do 1 plus our I to the 77th power. So that means by using the cell we can change it whenever we're ready, so that's really nice. And then we're going to subtract that from our regular payment times, and then now we do S sub n, so I'm going to do parentheses, and then I have to do my power, 1 plus my I to the 77 again, and my power, okay, -1, that ends the numerator just like in a calculator, and then over our I. So it does take away some of that bit, and we got the same answer, so that's nice. So what I did is I have these formatted so that they're all going to be money like this, so you can highlight the cells that you're going to use, and then you right click and then format, and then you can just click on currency or accounting, or you can just use a number. It's totally up to you. I do currency, and this is the way I prefer my negatives, and I have it automatically rounding to the nearest cent with this too, so that way I don't have to worry about it. So our regular payment for this whole time is always going to be that $657.40. So I'm going to put that in here and drag it down all the way. Now notice what happens when I drag it down is that this one is now calling C8, not the one I wanted to. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to put $signs around both of those pieces so that it doesn't move, and then drag and drop again, and now we're good to go. So then with the interest, we said that that was calculated from the previous balance, so I'm going to grab that 90,000 value times my I. Now this value is going to change as we go, so we don't want any $signs here, but this B4 we want to stay set, so I'm going to put the $signs there. And then our principal was the regular payment minus what we just found as the interest, $651, and if you look at your table, everything should be matching up real nice so far. And it is, just wanted to double check that there. And then this, our new balance is going to be the previous balance minus that principal. Okay, so again, everything's matching up. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take these, and you can fill out the rest of your table with doing one set. So again, doing these by hand is very, very tedious. Doing them on Excel is much quicker. On the exam, when we get to the exam, on the exam, you're not going to have a table this big. I might just have you do the one for the, maybe a year or jumping to a value. But this is why we have the project, so that if you want to use Excel, you can, and if you don't, you have the time to do it by hand. Okay, because otherwise on an exam, it's not going to work out. It's too much stress to try to do just one of these problems on the test. So the ones on the test are going to be much shorter, more like what we did in example 3, where there's only a couple values.